or a combination of these. Yep. Some of the very poor qualitative research that gets done out there is because the researcher only knows how to do one thing.
Mm.
They know how to do discourse analysis. So everything is a discourse analysis. Or they know how to do narrative analysis. So everything gets analysed for its narrative structure. But the data is what really determines what kind of analysis you then apply. Yeah? With my data, there were discourses, there were narratives, there were themes, and there was other stuff that didn't fit any of those, which thankfully, of course, the semiotic analysis can deal with, because all of them are semiotic analyses.
Yeah.
All of them are analyses of meaning. Yeah, and that's what the discipline of semiotics is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
One of the people I know, I think I can call her a friend these days, is she's somebody I just met a few months ago.
Yeah.
And she is on, this is a side point, I guess, she's on the ethics committee at Auckland University, and she was talking about the idea, because I know my participants, that somebody else interviews them, and I'm like, I don't know if that's necessary, but I thought I'd bring it up with you.
That would be the kind of assumption that someone who is only used to quantitative research would make.
Okay.
Someone who's not familiar with the idea of a first person, a second person, and a third person, right? People whose background is in quantitative research understand objectivity and the third person position.
Yeah.
They don't understand the rest, right? So she would be thinking, but that could involve bias because you know the person, right?
Yeah.
Okay? We use the process of reflection to avoid bias. Yeah. And part of the process of reflection is also to acknowledge where you're coming from and what your relationship to those that you interview are.
Yeah.
Because you're taking up what's called the second person position, right? There's a whole section about this. Yep, you remember? And in order to be a second person, you need to have knowledge of the phenomenological domain, right? So the example that I give, for instance, is if you were, for instance, to go out there and interview piano players about the experience of playing the piano, and you'd never seen a piano in your life, how effective you're going to be, right?
That's true.
Useless, because you know absolutely nothing about the phenomenological domain. You're just going to frustrate them. So you're going to say, oh, so what's the white things? The keys. What's the black things? Well, how come you got black and white keys? You know, like, so the idea of correctly done qualitative research is to have a researcher who's got that kind of inside knowledge, enough of it to work effectively to capture all of the meaning within the phenomenological domain. The challenge is that that second person also needs to be very self-aware so that they do not pollute the cognitive ecology. Because their cognitive ecology may overlap with the one that they're researching, but not be quite the same. So it's very important to know when it's your terms and their terms. And also, one of the techniques that you'll learn when you start learning about interviewing technique is what I call playing dumb. In order to fully unpack the intricacy of the experience, sometimes as interviewers, what we do is we play dumb. So, you know, when I was talking to these women, even when I was on to like the 30th or 40th interview that I did, I would say, pain? Tell me about that pain. Now, I'd already heard about this pain 30 or 40 times, right? But I wasn't assuming that her pain was the same as all the others. And so I would play dumb. I wouldn't say, oh yeah, I've heard about this pain. So you've got the pain that moves around, is that right? No, of course not. Is that pain? And of course with the New Zealanders, we've got this lovely little rising inflection at the end of a sentence when it's a question. So you can make an entire sentence out of a question out of one word, right? Pain. energy,
Yeah.
everything, right? So I'm introducing absolutely nothing into the cognitive ecology. I'm using exactly the same word as they use,
Yeah.
but I'm unfolding more detail. Yeah. Everything, every area, every day. Those are what's called absolutes. Absolutes are fascinating. There is always more to it. When you hear these, when you're interviewing, I digress by the way, get curious about them.
Okay. Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
is another. It always. Well, you know, over a 20-year period, I'm pretty sure it always made you feel tired a lot of the time, but always, every single minute of every hour of the last 20 years, it affected everything in your life, absolutely everything. Yeah, so anyway, that's interviewing technique, we'll get to that. Right, so can you tell me what the underlying structure of that is?
Did I do that before, or did I not? Did I get? Was I incorrect before?
So what we've done, right? I'll back a few steps. Okay, so this is pretty good. Okay, you've missed a few.
Yeah.
You have missed a few.
Yeah.
So homework is partly going to be to go back over it again. Quite often you don't see things until you've seen them several times. It's just the way our brains work, right? So homework is going to be to go over this list again. You can photograph it, and the next 20 minutes we're going to spend doing stuff that'll be useful anyway. And then you can add in, right? But so this has been the analysis part. This has been we've opened the box and we've found all the pieces to the jigsaw puzzle. Yeah? So now we need to move into the synthesis part.
Yeah.
The synthesis part is making the connections. Yeah, finding the connections. So what I'm asking you right now, right, this is a trick question, okay, is can you tell me the underlying structure of that experience?
That the illness is not, the illness is separate to the person. Tell
That
me
is
if
one
I'm even
aspect
on
of
the
it.
right track. The illness is separate to the person. The experience is internalised in the person.
So stop there.
Okay.
So internalisation is an analytic concept you're introducing into your reading of this, right? And that the illness is externalised is again, that's an analytic step that you have introduced because you have a background in narrative therapy and you understand the concepts of internalisation and externalisation, right? They don't.
Okay.
They're just living it.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know that they're internalising or externalising. Yeah? So that's a layer of analysis which we do later.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
It's extremely important and really good qualitative research is strong on that. So I'm not saying don't do that. What I am saying is when you think of those things, keep in your reflective journal notes about those observations. That's an observation you are making of the data, right? The data doesn't say in there that I externalise the illness, right? It's implied and you're picking that up, which is good, yeah, very good. But the question that comes before that is, what is the underlying structure of that? If you were, for instance, to draw a mind map to represent it, how easy would it be? How long do you think it would take you to draw every single one of those in their correct position in relation to every other one?
It took you forever.
Yeah.
The underlying structure, would you refer it as the backbone of
Yeah,
the
like
thing?
the backbone of it. Yeah, exactly.
So that would be
It's very complex, right? And that's 2 pages of data.
But it's very complex with
But there are
not
some
many
strong patterns.
Yeah, with strong patterns. So between us, have we identified the strong patterns, or have we missed some strong patterns?
Go back over the data again, right?
Okay.
But these are really good questions. You're engaging in exactly the right way, okay? So my point here is that with just 2 pages of data, admittedly some quite selective pieces of data, right? Yours is not going to be this dense, okay? You can immediately start to see that there are some strong patterns, right? If you were to create a mind map, right, you probably imagine there'd be an it over here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And the it would be this illness. It's,
Yeah.
you know, right? And then there'd be kind of over here there'd be an I, right? And attached to the it would be
like chronic
the impacts, right?
Yeah.
Which you would start to be able to find all the different ones as you go through all of your data, right?
Yeah.
So, and you would also have characteristics of the illness, like it fluctuates,
like,
it overtakes, it consumes, right? And you probably have another thing over here, which is around life and work and parents and children and all the bits of life. And in fact, you'll discover that some of those bits of life have disappeared out of their life and they can't have any more, and other bits have become disrupted. And you find there's another one which is sort of people-ish, right? These are what we call clusters.
Yeah.
Sometimes those clusters are all the different aspects of a particular narrative. So you might have a cluster that talks about, well, my illness had a beginning and it began like this, and then it had a middle and the middle was like this and the end was like this. And in the beginning I could do stuff, but in the middle I couldn't do stuff, and then towards the end I started to be able to do stuff. So the narrative is about being able to do or not. And that would start to show up as a cluster.
Or another narrative could be, wherever I am in my illness, I am getting better. Exclusive of MA.
So one of the narratives, in fact, that did come through, and you can go read them, right? My thesis, is the recovering narrative. And all the strategies that they used to do that. But as you can see, that trying to do this by hand would be just about impossible, right? All right. So what could you use to do it? What tool do you already know about? In Vivo you use for the coding, but what tool do you already know about that you could use to draw that? Exactly. Right?
To connect it with the graph again.
This is the reason why.
To link them.
You need to get to know this free piece of software, right? Because the only other alternatives are going to cost you $10,000 plus. Okay? So what I want you to do now, both of you, to work together for the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, before I have to go, and then I'm going to leave you doing some other stuff, is start creating a debate graph. Put all of those on it, and I'll show you where we come back to our normal graph. I'll show you where I want you to put it. In fact, I'll put the node there. Okay, so formalisation of the data analysis. Okay, so I'm going to put a node on here, which I call Karen and Winnie's formalisation of the sample data. Okay? Why is it not giving me the normal options? Okay. Reload the current map. I've been finding recently, since the upgrade, that sometimes you need to do that. Just reload the current map to get it to
upgrade
behave.
of the Unitech
No,
server?
no, of debate graph.
Graph.
Yeah. Okay.